All right, I'd like to call tonight's meeting order for this evening for our committee meetings. We're going to start off, first of all, with some comments from Judge Elam.
I would like to bring Honorable Judge Elam up. He's going to speak to us about the homeless situation and all the
Up there.
help that we get. And on Friday, I went to the Salvation Army. They have a, every so many months, they all gather. And it was very, very informative. And I've got a lot of information that they handed out from each of the organizations. And I was really glad that I had the opportunity to go there. And Judge Elam invited me to participate with that. So I want him to speak to us first this evening, and I invite him.
Thank you.
Turn your mic on, Judge. Your mic, just push that button.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not here as a judge, okay? I'll get in trouble if I'm speaking as a judge. Actually, I'm here as a member of the community, and I told Councilman Cunningham in 2006 we started a homeless task force in Massillon. It involves law enforcement, the clergy, social service, and the courts. So every quarter that we meet, and the last couple of years we meet at the Massillon Salvation Army, they host us for a lunch, and I think when Councilman Cunningham was there, we had approximately 20 agencies there. And over the years, we've been very successful in helping people with homelessness, food insecurity, prescription medication, and utility assistance. So you should very be proud in this community that we support those individuals who are having a difficult time for housing, food insecurity, prescription medication, and utility assistance. And that involves approximately 20 agencies, from Beacon Pharmacy to the Massillon Salvation Army to the hot lunch programs that are run in the community. Our position is that if we can provide 5 hot lunches during the week, whether the Boys Club, I know the KSC, I don't know if Paul and Tommy still do that up there, but we have churches, we have St. Joe's, I forget who does it on Tuesday, but we put it all together in what we call a homeless survival guide. So we have that. We have one for Western Stark County, we have one for Eastern Stark County. That would be Canton. And we very seldom touch upon Alliance because we let the eastern part of the county do their own thing. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Over the last almost 20 years, we've been very successful. And the main reason we did that was it's usually on a Sunday afternoon, someone knocks on a priest, minister's door, and they need a handout. So we've decided that $50 that the priest or minister would give to that individual, we give it to the Salvation Army, Massillon Police, and we've had great cooperation with Chief Santinoy's crew. All the Massillon police officers are on board. We have what we call a hot card. So when they knock on that person's door at 3 o'clock on a Sunday, and as you know, everything happens after 5 o'clock. Okay, when all the agencies are closed or they don't answer their phones. So we have various numbers. Hillary at the Massillon Salvation Army carries the hot phone. And so you can call Hillary at any time, and she will direct that individual to where that person needs to go to get help on a Sunday afternoon. So we've developed a lot of programs. We don't have any bylaws. We don't have any membership. The membership is the social service agencies, churches, the law enforcement, and city government. We've had great cooperation with Mayor Slutz and Teddy. Anytime we needed anything, they were there. In fact, we had a meeting about 6 months ago with Renee and the mayor and Teddy when we had the encampment down by the Boys Club on the Wheeling and Lake Erie property. So you should be very proud as council people and the citizens of Massillon that we have a social service net that we can help people. When we have two men right now living in the lobby of the Massillon Police Department. They have some mental health issues. Those are very difficult. I don't want to point any fingers, but we don't get a whole lot of help from the Mental Health Board. We don't get any help from what I call Massillon State Hospital. So they're not on my Christmas card list, I can tell you that. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Judge Elam. Again, thank you so much for being here and for your comments. My question, you mentioned the person that knocks on the door on a Sunday afternoon, but I'm sure there's many other times that people are reaching out for help. How are they coming to avail themselves of the help that you've showed us this evening?
Well, what happens is that individual, as I said, Mike, it happens on Saturday and Sunday when all the agencies are closed. Crisis management is not the most helpful agency. None of the agencies in Canton are very helpful to us, in fact. So it's the Massillon Salvation Army that has stepped up. They have a housing specialist there that they pay for. At one time, when we first started, we all kicked in for that person's salary, or we got a grant. As you know, grants all run out. And so the Massillon Salvation Army was kind enough to pick that salary up. So we refer them to Hillary, and Hillary works her magic with hotel rooms, with hygiene bags, food, or anything that they might need.
So my question is, how do they get to that point to get referred to Hillary? Is it through Massillon Police Officer?
Well, Massillon has the hotline number, the minister or priest at the church, and usually the reason I use church is because that's where they normally knock on the door. Everybody else is closed. So they have this hot card, and the minister will call the homeless hotline or the Salvation Army. Now, that number's not to be given out. That's just given to our membership so we can refer to Hillary. We don't want everybody calling Hillary and the Salvation Army when they should be calling the homeless hotline. If they need transportation to Canton, let's say they're stuck over here and they need to get to the Refugee of Hope, Chief Santinoy's crews do a great job. They take them there. The Massillon Municipal Court goes through about $1,000 worth of bus tickets every month. We buy them in bulk from SARTA. We get no freebies. And as you know, the problem is they don't run buses on Sunday. But we'll get them over there to the refugee, or we'll get them the Salvation Army has an arrangement with a hotel in the Belden Village area where we have vouchers. So, as you know, Mike, everything's unique. Nobody comes in with the same problem.
Right.
They come in with unique problems. They come in with 3 children. They come in with they're still high from being on drugs. I mean, it's a multitude of things. I'm not trained to deal with that, but we have Hillary and the members of the Salvation Army that are.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Julie.
Thank you, Judge Elam. Thank you for being
It's
here.
Eddie. That's Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie.
Okay.
So have you had a chance to see our legislation that we're looking at for the homeless, that we don't want any tents or homeless encampments on city property? Our park's already closed at dusk anyhow. Do you have any problem with that, or do you think that's a good idea?
It's a great idea. Councilman Harwig, we've talked in our discussions with the Homeless Task Force, with the administration, and with some of the members here of council when we get together. My opinion is it's not good for the city, it's not good for the individual, number one, especially in this cold weather. There's all kinds of problems there. And if you talk to the mayor, who's been a police officer for over 20 years, and Chief Santinoy, who's here, we get a lot of problems. We get sexual abuse, you get knifings, you get people stealing each other's property. For every homeless person you have, it costs the city government 4 times. So if I can get that person a hotel voucher, get him what he needs, we have saved the city, the fire department, the paramedics, the police, times 4. So I've got study after study that shows that. If anybody wants to show up, I can show it to you. You spend the dollars up front, you will save at least 4 times. So if you spend $100 with that person, you have saved with police runs, paramedic runs, overdose runs, Narcan, you name it, and emergency rooms, always emergency rooms. An emergency room run costs you $5,000 here. Do you understand that? Not only does the paramedics got to take them, chief, you send a cruiser, has to follow them, they have to process the scene. They go into the hospital. We usually, as taxpayers, get stuck with the bill. So that's what and we've been very good at cutting that down, Councilman Harwood. We're really good.
Thank you.
I learned a lot from your father, by the way, to help.
So did I.
Absolutely. Who's next? Jill, go ahead.
So with the, the verbiage that we have, it's under reconsideration. So under the mitigation and penalties, if an individual is convicted of this, is there a path that this individual can go through with all of these resources that you've discussed tonight? How would that look and what is that path?
That's a great question, Councilman Crew, because we've talked with Councilman Lewis, with Councilman Gregg, with the mayor. It's like a diversion program. Nobody wants to criminalize homelessness. That's not what the law department wants to do. That's not what Judge Fichter and I or Judge Skazza will not do that. We're not going to criminalize people for being homeless. We're going to help them. We have vouchers to help them. For instance, if they do get that citation, we would put them, and I can't speak for Judge Fichter because I'm only there for another 2 weeks before he kicks me out, where we would start a diversion program. Judge Fichter's on board, Andrea's on board, we're all on board with the law department, with council, with the administration. This is an easy thing to handle for us because we do that. We do diversion for alcohol, drugs, underage consumption, and theft. We have the best diversion program in the county. And this would not be a burden to our courts. Go ahead, Sarita.
Thank you, Judge.
Eddie.
Excuse me. Oh, Eddie. Okay. It was so interesting on Friday to meet these individuals that are chair people and executive directors and what have you. And the one thing that I did learn, that we're not supposed to call them homeless. We're supposed to say they're unhoused. Okay? So you got to kind of remember that as well. But for instance, one agency spoke of there's 2,200 under guardianship right now, and these are adults. That amazed me. But there's so many agencies. There's the Jackson Hug Center. Have you ever heard of that? Well, you have, but everybody else, no. And they work out of the Stark County Library with the Goodwill, and they help with the babies and young children, and they have the public baby shower that they put together. Did you ever hear that? Probably not. The AHEAD program that's here in Massillon, Amanda's Hope. They help with the middle school West Elementary, the high school East Elementary. They help with the appliances and grant dollars. Of course, the Goodwill. Then there's the Court Angels. They help with guardianship. Steve Waller, who is a bailiff, helps with helping to give out the food and helps, in many ways, the bailiffs help as well. On Mondays, there's the hot meals. There's the grocery giveaways. They'll give shoes and socks and cleaning supplies. And like I mentioned, and I mentioned a couple weeks ago, the young woman that I met in the police department that was unhoused because she had just lost her living in one of the Carolinas, and she came back to Massillon. And I was mentioning her story, and then Eddie came up to me and finished the story about her.
Yeah, every day I check the lobby of the police department. Chief Santinoy and his staff has been very kind to let the individual stay there. And I ran into this young lady, came from a hostile environment in South Carolina to come back here. She did have some family here, but she indicated to me they were all drug addicted. She fell asleep on the bus. She ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. She eventually got up here, and she was staying in the lobby of the police department. We have resources in the court where we have the Family Living Center, we have Betty's House, we have the Refugee of Hope. So I was able to get her in to Betty's House, who is operating, and that's the Old Maidy Realty. It's right next to Mr. Tire on Lincoln Way. So Pat Kuzma, who's a lawyer that was a couple of years behind me in high school, and I always kid Pat. He and my brother played together at Central, but they played without a football helmet. So they're pretty goofy, and so I remind them of that, and they got beat by Aquinas 4 years in a row. So it's really bad if you're a Central grad getting beat by Aquinas. So Pat helped me. There was a bed there. Stevie Waller and I transported the young lady there. And at the same time, you remember, we have a clothes closet, hygiene cabinet at St. Joe's, and so does the Salvation Army. She is presently housed there. The court has a specific fund that we can pay for about a month, and I think a month there is like $250. And this is not taxpayers' dollar. This is funds that we assess on each court case for that. So most of the funds that we use are probation funds. Again, if she's on the street, being sexually abused, stealing, overdosing, I'm not saying that she's a drug addict. If she's you, the city of Massillon, will pay $5,000 a run to the hospital. So for what we did, we minimized everything. When you live at Betty's house, that's named after Pat's mother, by the way, you have to work, you have to have a job, and you have to contribute to they can do their community service there. Now, this person was not a defendant in court, but Pat and his staff still make him do community service. That's one of, by the end of 25, we'll probably have 20 that like that. We have females are easier to house than men because Amy at the Family Living Center usually keeps 1 or 2 beds available, but she has over 50 families there now that were built for 30. So that's what the need is.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Judge.
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, you're welcome.
I guess before we go any further, I forgot to start with identifying or recognizing members of administration that are here this evening. Diane, would you do that?
Yes, sir. Mayor Jamie Slutes. Safety Service Director Renee Baker. Chief Deputy Auditor Stephanie Myers. Director of Development Ted Hernkane. Police Chief Jason Santinoy. Is there anyone from administration I missed? That's it, President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Diane. Let the record show all members of council are present, as well as President Slater. This is Brian Huth.
Thank you, President Gray. Were we going to stay on the topic? Just no more questions for Judge Elam? Or were you?
Why don't we do that when we come to her committee, to Sarita's committee? We'll just start moving along. All right, so let's start off with community development with Councilwoman Creamer.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. I have one item that falls under old business, ordinance number 1112-2025, authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to transfer parcel 680-625, which is a 0.14 acre parcel located at 227 3rd Street Southeast, Massillon, Ohio, currently owned by the City of Massillon, to the Community Improvement Corporation of Massillon, the CIC, for the purpose of economic development and declaring an emergency. We did have representatives here from Make a Way at a council meeting to discuss this ordinance. I've talked to a couple individuals at council regarding this request, and I was interested in opening up and having additional conversation, but do something, amend this ordinance and do something similar to what we did with Mr. Gully and the Sensory Park, placing some verbiage in this ordinance. And I wanted to share it with you and start that conversation to see, is this something that we would like to proceed with? So with this ordinance, I would like to add to it, with the help of Mr. Markham, he did help me, so I want to give him credit. The property includes an existing 6,000 square foot commercial building, which has been leased to Make a Way, incorporated since 1983. The instrument transferring the property from the city to the CIC shall contain a restrictive covenant restricting the use of said property to nonprofit uses. Said restricted covenant shall contain a reversionary interest held by the city of Massillon in the event property is used for any other purpose other than a nonprofit purpose. The city's reversionary interest in this restricted covenant shall be bought out for the parcel's value as assessed by the Stark County Auditor for the year 2023 at $301,300. So with Seth's assistance, he looked on the Stark County Auditor's website to look at the value of this property and include it in this amended verbiage. And we went back to 2023 because in 2024, the property value went from over $301,000 up to $709,000. So there was a extreme increase in property value for this for this parcel. So we thought in the best interest that we would use that value and include that dollar amount in this language. So with that said, I'd like to get thoughts on that because, I'd like to be consistent on, how we proceed forward with these parcels that are owned by the city that we want to transfer to the CIC to be given to these nonprofits. Mr. Lewis, start out with your thoughts.
I was just going to say, I think it's a good idea. I think, in general, the concept of, since we already did this once with the property that we did for the Century Park, moving forward, as we do these development deals, whether it be with nonprofits or other, looking at that type of thing in order to remain consistent and fair to all people, it's probably not a horrible idea.
Ms. Harwick-Smith?
Thank you, Councilman Creamer. I also think it's a good idea. Thank you, Mr. Markham, for all your hard work, and Mrs. Creamer. We don't like to just give things away, but we do want to help, and these nonprofits are great bonuses to our community. So I think this is very fair, but I wouldn't want to, give away something of value, and then 2 years later, they turn it into something else that they're just making money off themselves, and now they own the property. So I think this gives us that reassurance that it's going to stay for the intended purpose of why we are giving this property to them. So I'm supportive of this.
Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you, Councilman Kramer. I also believe this is a very good idea. They've showed what they've done for how many years. I don't believe they're going to change in midstream, so to speak. I also believe this is a very good idea, and thank you, Mr. Councilman Markham and Jill, for going above and beyond that we should be consistent in what we're doing, again, with city property. So I wholeheartedly agree.
Mr. Gregg?
Thank you, Councilman Creamer. I agree. I think it's, for consistency's sake, it's a good idea to have this type of verbiage in all legislation of this type. Thank you, Seth, for helping put that together. I want to clarify one thing. You mentioned the big jump in value. We're using the lower value, correct? Okay, all right.
Yes, Yes, because if we would look at 2024 and 2025, it's, it's valued at over $700,000. And we thought we would stay with the 2023 value. There's multiple years that it's from 2021 through 2023, it's around $300,000. And that was similar to what we did for the other parcel. We looked at, I believe, 3 years and very similar years. But if I'm incorrect, Mr. Markham, please.
You are correct. You're correct on that. This property was weird. I don't know what happened in 2023. It went up in value on the building, but not the land, if I remember right, by about $1,000. So not a huge jump in 2023, but this one had a little bit of a weird discrepancy in the valuation history. So I just went with 2023 since that was the most recent, quote-unquote, low year.
Any other additional questions? Oh, yeah, sure, Ms. Harwood-Smith.
Is this go on forever as far as this attachment, or is it after so many years it will be just voided out and then they own it free and clear?
So typically, the way this is written and the way I would envision the law department writing it in the future, it would follow the property until it's bought out or some other event happens that dissolves the restrictive covenant. You see this a lot in nonprofit donations or even government donations of land where in the early 1900s it was really popular to donate land for museums or libraries, and now people are trying to buy those museums and libraries and finding them when they do their title work, and then they stop the deal.
Mr. Ray?
Thank you. So I think my question is if they were to change it to for-profit, it would be how much?
$301,300.
Okay. So you're saying that's the appraisal, that's what it was appraised for?
For the Stark County Auditor's Department.
Okay. So now what if time, obviously appraisals go up and they also go down? And like say 20 years from now, it's not worth 331, you know what I mean? I think the number's fairly high. That's just my opinion. I think the number's fairly high. I know it may have appraised at a certain dollar amount, but I believe I just received an appraisal letter that my house was worth $200,000, and I know it's not. If I put it on the market, I'm not going to get $200,000 for it. So I'm just saying sometimes that thing is it has a little bit of fluctuation in it. That's just, we can consider that. Also, I think, by them being in our ward, which is Second Ward, they are definitely a great contribution to our community in that area. They also help with that homeless situation, unhoused situation that we speak of now, and mental health as well. I actually taken a few mental health classes there. They, strive to educate people about mental awareness, and they've shown us a track record of what they started. I think it based as a church to begin with. So I think that they're going to be here for a while. It's just saying that, I'm thinking that we shouldn't box it in to something that's that high of a margin. I do believe giving it away should be considered, to achieve that it stays in the same realm. But I think that dollar amount is just a little too high, and that's just my opinion.
Mr. Martin?
And I think the law gives us a couple different options on that. So option one, let's say it does sell or some event happens in the future. Council could get rid of its reversionary interest just by passing a new resolution in the future and going through the same process we did to create it. It could reduce the amount it wants for it. It could increase the amount. Well, it couldn't increase the amount for it, but in a negotiation with any future buyer, that could be a consideration in the future. And then point number two on that, let's say we were trying to dispose of this land otherwise. We would either be auctioning the property off or selling it directly for whatever the value of the property is worth. What we're doing here is we're giving the land away for free, no cost, so they're not paying that $300,000 up at the front end. That's just a little catch-all clause in there to basically protect the city's interest to ensure that this property remains in the city and continues to do good for the city.
Mr. Gregg?
So along those lines, if Make a Way ceased to exist, God forbid, ceased to exist as an organization, no longer has use of that property, reversionary clause brings it right back to the city. Is that correct?
So a number of things could happen. Habitat, I think, is a nonprofit. They could go there and continue to do some nonprofit purpose there. Any other nonprofit entity could go there and continue with their nonprofit mission. But if all else fails, that property would come back into city hands if it was going to be used for any nonprofit purpose. Or, you know, whoever wants to buy it can buy the city out for $301,000.
And all that's in the language of we're amending that legislation, right?
And I was going to ask Diane to send out the verbiage, this amended language, for a copy of council all to have, so they can see that.
Thank you.
Ms. Hardwick-Smith?
Thank you, Councilman Creamer. So you said we're going 2023, which is 300,000? And then the current appraised value is how much?
709,000.
Okay, so I think that's very fair. I mean, because we're not going by the current value, we're going by the value of 23. And even if things do come back down, how they're praising things awfully high past year, if they do go back down, I doubt if it'd go below that. But like you said, all it would take is an amendment.
No, the point I was making is even if it sits at $750,000, it's not gonna sell for $750,000. You see what I mean? It's just an appraisal, it's just an idea. That building
Well,
needs a
that's
lot of work.
taxes
That building
based
needs a
on.
lot of work right now, and I think throughout the process, by them renting the property for $1, for $1 a month, for what, over 20 years? 40 years, right.
42
So
years.
they've had to take care of the maintenance, the new roof, the siding. Oh, well, $1 a year. Well, they still, Intel had to take on that responsibility of all the maintenance and et cetera. And it's a monster of a building, so. And that they haven't had many updates, so it wouldn't be, I'm just assuming that it wouldn't sell for that. That's just my assumption. On the southeast side of Massillon, I don't believe that would happen. But that's just my opinion.
Appraisal problem.
Right. That's next meeting.
Mr. Gregg?
Yeah, I think we can debate what the number could or should be, but I think we have to tie it to something which we've done.
Yeah,
We already have our precedent for
I
that,
agree.
right? We use the Stark County's appraisal for the land that's being used for the Century Park. I think we got to tie it to something. I think that Councilman Markham did a good job with identifying a value that I think is fair and makes sense. But the bottom line is we've got a point of reference to use, not just a number we're picking out of the air.
Okay.
Any additional questions or comments? Okay, that's all I have for community development, Mr. Gregg.
Thank you. Next, we have economic development. Councilman Ray.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. I have no new business today to present.
All right, thank you. Next, health, welfare, and building regulations with Councilwoman Cunningham.
I believe there's going to be some questions for Eddie.
No,
I think
No?
we answered all of them.
we're just in discussion now.
Oh,
Over-
okay, we're in discussion now.
Was
Is there any discussion, further discussion? Councilman Holly, Brian Huth?
Thank you, Councilwoman Cunningham. I spent more time between last meeting and this talking with other leaders in the community about the unhoused problem that does exist and what the resources are, because that's been a main focus of what this legislation is concerning. So in speaking with them, just like we talked about last week about the West Stark Homeless Task Force that Judge Elam has run for 20-some years, there's also a Stark County Continuum of Care. And at the county level, these ladies work on the policy and strategies as they relate to the federal guidelines, the state guidelines, and then bring it down into the county. As they disseminate this information throughout the county, they really rely on our homeless task force, and that's what they call them until they move to unhoused. They rely on the local communities because Stark County does have a very diverse population and because Whipple does divide us in more than just football. So on the west side, they were very impressed with how our homeless task force works. The people that are at the table, these ladies do attend the task force. You probably saw them on Friday. I was unable to go on the short notice, but I would like to attend in the future. We did discuss a little bit about how this legislation mirrors what happened in, or what Canton enacted in September, and talk a little bit about that. They were, I don't want to say concerned, but when Canton's legislation was enacted, after it was passed, groups of people came together at a round table to discuss what needed to be done on a protocol and a algorithm kind of level to mitigate, just like we're speaking about, how to keep folks out of jail, out of getting charges, out of, the vicious cycle that is going to not help their situation. So they were very encouraged to see that we were talking before the legislation came forward about how to work around and put policy or some kind of formal protocol, although not in legislation, but maybe on the back end through the homeless task force or through the PD or something like that, where MOUs, memorandums of understanding exist between organizations so that you can work together to meet the clientele, to provide these services and do these kinds of things, so that we're working on a proactive level and not a reactive level. They did give me some data from September of '24 to October of '25. There were 304 households that called into the homeless navigation line from Massillon, and of those, it was 534 individuals. So whether those people were here transiently or here for a length of a period of time, I don't know that data. It's a very fluid problem. People move often because of necessity and because of need. But that was the data. So 500 individuals, 534 individuals in a year needed housing, emergent housing assistance, not just I'm getting evicted soon, Aunt Sue, can I come stay with you? It's I'm out on the sidewalk and it's -20 and now what do I do? You had asked earlier, Mr. Gregg, about how do these people come about? How do they know? And that's something that I talked in depth with these ladies about, is the communication and making sure that all the levels and from the task force standpoint, all the community agencies, but then also the people at Speedway and the people at places that are open 24 hours, the people at Walmart, folks walking around in the street, how do we get that communication through our community of this is the method, this is the system, this is how we go about trying to combat this. And it's that's just something that we always have to work on, is that communication piece. They do have resources like Sarita passed around. I have a few more to send in an email out this week from these people that will also help with information. Like Judge Eddie said, there is a hot meal in Massillon 5 days a week, along with bagged groceries, and that is a help. And they do pop around different areas of town so that if transportation is an issue, at least maybe there's one proximate to where people are to help out. So I think we just keep talking, we keep awareness about it, and we keep moving forward. But that formalized protocol is something that I would highly encourage either the West Stark Homeless Task Force or maybe somewhere else to really come together with an algorithm, because the system exists, and that's the other piece that we were discussing, is what is that system, where is that case manager, all of those things. That exists from the housing navigation that is underneath this continuum of care. So there's one phone line through all of Stark County that you call if you need emergency assistance, and that phone line is going to channel you through what they need to do. Now, again, it's a multifaceted. There are people who cannot be housed in shelters for various reasons. Maybe it's children, maybe it's pets, maybe it's violent issues, maybe it's drug addiction issues, maybe they've, used up all of their tokens. But then there's other people who do need help. these ladies also did advise that it's a good system, but it's not, it needs funding, it needs support, it needs, brick and mortar buildings to house the people in. It's not big enough for the need. All of those issues and challenges exist in this system, but it is a working system. So I wanted to share that with you all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Lewis?
I just want to say, I guess, last we spoke, the recommendation was to make a slight amendment to the legislation that was first put forth. I just wanted to make sure we were, I wasn't just going to make this amendment and everybody was going to look at me like I had a third eye. I have talked to the law department to try to see how we can do this in the best way. The goal was to limit any major impact to the operations within the city, and make sure that we are still in good legal standing of how everything's written. So just so you guys know what the recommendation is that I'll make, under 542.99, there are subsections A through D. What we'll essentially do is make it that it will be subsections A through E, moving the existing subsections down and creating a new A. Okay, so we'll just renumber those. And the new A will essentially say something along the lines, and, I'll wordsmith it a little bit better probably with Justin Richard before we get here Monday, but something along the lines of, upon initial contact with a law enforcement officer, a written warning shall be given and a recommendation of resources. And then that's that. We would only imagine a handful of instances in a given year anyways. And then after that warning has been given, if there is another occurrence in which this person is struggling to move on, then they will be given the citation. And as it's currently written, it already says, the court will evaluate the attempts made to access resources and will, make a decision based off those attempts. I think that's the fairest way we can do it. As a city, we can't get too far into the weeds of trying to legislate policy. So we do have to be cautious about that. So that was where we stand on that.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. President Pro Tem?
So you anticipate having the final version of the legislation for Monday?
I was just going to make the revision on the floor. Since it's only one sentence, Diane can just add it.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman Kramer?
I just want to say, I'm very appreciative that we reconsidered this and we opened this up for additional conversation. I think within the last couple weeks, we've heard a lot more information, we've gotten a lot more resources, maybe an awareness that, yes, we have these things, but how exactly does that look? And how does that impact and what's the path? So I think, with bringing this up, and thank Councilwoman Holly Bryan Huth, for her conversations, I feel better that we're moving forward in the right direction with these unhoused individuals and, providing them the resources if they choose to have them available. So I just want to say thank you for all this information.
Thank you. Councilman Ray?
Thank you. I agree with Councilwoman Creamer, everything that came forth, the fact that we all put our brains together and we tried to calculate a way for us to, have empathy about the situation and not look as if we're just writing it all. We came together and I think we did very well at it. If we bring forth this, I think the citizens and residents of Massillon will appreciate what we've done here. So I thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody else? And that's all.
All right, thank you. Next committee, Parks and Recreation, Councilwoman Harvick Smith.
Thank you, Councilman Gregg. I have nothing for Parks and Recs this evening.
Okay. Police and Fire, Councilman Markham.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you. Public Utilities and Environmental, Councilwoman Bryan Huth.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
All right. Rules and Courts and Civil Service, my committee, and I have nothing new for this evening as well. Streets, Highways, Traffic and Safety, Councilman Packley.
Nothing new, Councilman Gregg?
Thank you. And finally, Finance, Councilman Lewis.
All right, here we go. If the deputy auditor would like to just come forward and make herself comfortable.
All right.
The first three I'm going to address, I put these in order, all deal with the police pension. One of them is $108,078.90. It's just coming from the unappropriated balance of the police pension fund. So that's money that would have already been earmarked for this, we just have to appropriate it.
Yes.
The
Well,
next-
there is an appropriation before, that should come probably before this, that's, because we have to transfer it from the general fund, I think the one right after it for the 52,499, yeah. Like, that has to be appropriated into the general fund. Then there's the transfer appropriation that needs to transfer that money from the general fund to the 1209. No, not a budget transfer, it's a legislative transfer.
Okay, so we have police period legislation to appropriate from the unappropriated balance of the general fund, $52,499.13. This is the disability and pension transfer.
Yes,
Then I have another one that says, please prepare legislation to make a transfer in the 2025 appropriation of the general fund from disability pension transfer to transfer in,
yes,
and that's that $52,499.13.
yes. Then when that gets moved to the 1209, then we can appropriate the 1209, the 108,000.
And we do this because we have to make sure we make our payment to the pension fund every year.
Yes. The appropriation of the general fund would come first, from the general fund. Correct, to the disability and pension transfer fund. And then it gets then there's the transfer, and then the appropriation to the 1209. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so the next one, we have similar thing, but going with fire, so we're gonna assume that we gotta do the same thing, 1,100 first.
They only need to do a budget transfer, so that's in the way back. They just needed a few thousand, so once that budget transfer is done, we're good. I just need to appropriate into the 1210.
So we have, please prepare legislation to make a transfer in the 2025 appropriation of the general fund from disability to the transfer in. And that says to pay fire pension.
Yes, that one would come before this 1210, yes. Forgot about that one.
Yep. And then overall, we have the transfer, $58,281.84. And it's for the same reason, to make sure we cover our payment to the pension funds every year. All right, my next pieces here are just the reductions. And these, I think we might be able to put together, Diane?
The Massillon Museum and the county fees, but the one regarding the workers' comp will be on an ordinance by itself.
Okay. So we're just reducing the appropriations in the Massillon Museum holding account and fees for $110,406.35. This is just us zeroing out accounts for the end of the year. And then reduce appropriations in the Consumers National Bank TIF by $2,000 for the same reason.
And the reason I say that, Ed, is because the reasons for emergency are different.
Yep, that makes sense. So we're reducing workers' comp by $2,000, employee insurance by $57,000, retirees insurance by $509.50, and MMO wellness expense by $12,503.57 for a total of $72,013.07. And the reason is we did not have as many people enter into a COBRA throughout the year, so the expected revenue and whatnot had changed. All right, please prepare an ordinance authorizing the auditor to pay various bills in the 2025 that have been received and that will be received by the office between January 1 and March 31st out of the 2026 appropriations. So essentially what this is bills that we are racking up now. We may not actually get that bill until like January or February or so, but we can't pay those bills out of 2025 money because we don't have 2025 monies as of midnight on December 31st going to January 1st. So they will have to pay those out of 2026 monies. Well, they need our permission to do that since it was a bill that was from the previous year. Does that make sense? We do this every year, by the way. Please prepare legislation authorizing the auditor and the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio to enter into a one-year contract with REA Business Advisors to compile the basic financial statement for the city of Massillon and the city of Massillon Health Department for the year ending December 31st, 2025. Just for our information, members of council, what is this basic financial statement?
This is the gap conversion. Previously, the State of Ohio LGS, Local Government Services, did our financials, and we would contract with them every year. And we received a letter in November that they will no longer be doing that. I'm guessing they didn't really give a reason. They just kind of said we are not required by the law to do it. And I heard that they dropped other people at the end of last year. So we had to go out and find a new firm to do our financials. So they're doing like our gap conversion, like things that happen in 25 or things that should be in 25 that happen in 26. They put all that together and they put all of our financials together that then we turn over to the state auditor that does our actual audit.
And the reason we separate out the health department?
They are required by the state to keep them as two separate financials.
Any additional questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Gray.
So I was looking through this on the third or fourth page. It talks about the fees to the
Yes.
city. So this is the first time, obviously, we're paying this organization to do this. Did we pay the previous?
We did. It was not as high, but I did go out. I contacted 4 firms. I got quotes. I didn't hear back from one. I heard one that said they don't do gap conversions. And the other firm, I believe, I'm sorry, I didn't have that with me, but the other firm was $46,000 for the year that I got a quote on.
That was the quote?
Yeah. And I believe the state was definitely cheaper, but I couldn't find anyone else that would do it for the rate that the state did it for.
So looking at this, there's $2 amounts listed here, about a total of about $35,000.
Yes, because they separated out the health department share, like their portion. Yes, exactly. And the other one would have been $46,000 for the year.
Thank you.
So is it mandatory to have an outside agency look at all our books? I mean, because.
I mean, I don't know that there's anyone that has the qualifications. I mean, this is like CPA level stuff that they're doing there's no one
So
qualified.
if we
with
had
this.
an auditor that was a CPA level, would they be able to keep it and do it themselves without us paying it? Or that'd be more than what their salary and?
I couldn't answer that question. I'm sorry. I don't know.
All right, thanks.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Are there any of these transfers that you think I'm going to call you up for?
You may. I mean, there's a lot. I can explain. There's a lot for everything's being transferred into the PERS account. This year, OPERS will dictate when pension end is each month and how many pays make it up. Normally, 2 pays make up a pension end. Twice a year, 3 pays make up a pension end. This year, kind of like with the 27 pays for next year, we had 3 pension ends that were 3 pays. So everyone kind of is a little bit short, but so most of these budget transfers are just getting the money they need to pay my last pension payment at the end of this year because it was 3 pays instead of 2 pays. And it has never happened since I've been here, so I'm guessing it's kind of the same as the 27 pays every so often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, the first one we have to that point is WIC. It's transferring $530 into their PERS. We have one in the auditor transferring $490 into their PERS.
And that one says street lighting, is that correct?
Yeah, it says to realign the budget
Oh, I'm sorry, that should not say that.
to pay PERS. Nice catch.
We're human.
This next one, service and contracts, reduced by 151 for council, putting it into our PERS. Do we need to have Mr. Slater sign this one too? Where it says department head, on the right-hand side. Domestic violence is transferring $1.40 into their PRS. The law department is transferring $1,170 into their PRS. Engineering is transferring $1,552 into PERS. Community development is transferring $575 into their PERS. City Hall Public Buildings is transferring $310 into their PERS. Income tax is transferring $855 into their PRS. Safety and Service Department is transferring $915 into their PRS. Civil Service is transferring $180 into their PRS. Bailiff is transferring $1,071 into their PERS. I think you did this on purpose to me, just so you know. Police is transferring $30,000 out of their salary and putting it overtime, as per the conversation we've been having to cover their needs. Fire is transferring $2,702.06 into their fire pension, as discussed with the legislation request. And Park and Rec is doing the capital improvements. They have an emergency HVAC repair that they have to do down at the rec center. It's $60,000. They're taking it out of their salary. I did talk to Mr. Pedro. A couple things happened this year to make it, because my big question was, how do you have $60,000 left in your budget for salary? One, they have I think an entry-level to mid-level manager position at the rec center that they had budgeted for, but that person didn't come on until about mid-year. So there's a half of that salary there. And then they had a couple other positions, whatever, groundskeeper, whatever, some entry-level positions that they never actually filled this year that they were hoping to fill. So that's where that excess money is coming from. And to good fortune, because now they're able to use it to repair the HVAC system. This is my last work session in this capacity that we actually have business to discuss. So I just wanted to say to whoever takes over finance, there's a lot to learn, a lot to know, and that's okay. I've been in the seat for 12 years now, so a lot of the things are repetitive to me, and I just know from when they had to explain it to me 5 times before. But I will say the one thing that this council can look forward to is that we have a fantastic budget director who is very knowledgeable and willing to meet and discuss and explain. She's a little bit, nitpicky and wants to really know what's going on all the time, but that's what makes her so good. I'll also say that I could say the same things about our deputy auditor. She also does a fantastic job of making sure everything is balanced and moves in the right direction. And she is equally as accessible if you guys need her. So I think you guys are in a really good position with the talent that's around us. The other thing is always, one thing I always watched is always watch that ending balance on the 1100 line. It's at the top of the sheet that you see every week. That's your carryover from one year over the next. And just remember, it's not a savings account. It is fluid. It will change. But every time you do an appropriate from the unappropriated balance of the 1100, that's the number that we're taking it from. And if you carry over 1 year, $5 million, and you end the next year with less than $5 million in that carryover, that means you spent more than you brought in. So just think about that as you guys are making decisions moving forward. So with that said, that's all I have for finance.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. Thank you for your leadership for the past 12 years and your knowledge, especially in the Finance Committee. Grateful for you for that. And Mrs. Creamer, thank you so much for your leadership and your guidance and your work ethic for the council, over the many years that you've been on council. Anything else?
Yes. Blom, 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 blom.
All right, with that, I'd say we are adjourned.